The Aji Network, Starter Top 1% Mission-Focused Course. Introduction to Designing New Offers and Practices, a Top 1% Skill. The talk you're about to see was produced by the Aji Network for one of its 4 online mission-focused offers. The Aji Network is a business education company that's been helping ambitious business people to earn top 1% annual incomes between $400,000 and $4 million for more than 30 years. Why is it important to earn top 1% incomes between $400,000 and $4 million? This is the real amount of income people need to earn in order to live a good life during adulthood and save enough money to continue to live a good life during 25 plus years of unemployment or old age. The actual amount depends upon people's age and current savings. When business people earn these incomes, they're able to avoid the suffering, chronic stress, and shortened lifespans caused by running out of money before they die. Put another way, only these incomes enable business people to afford the goods and services everyone requires every day of their life, regardless of their age, to take satisfactory care of their most fundamental human concerns, such as housing, healthcare, food, transportation, medical care, family visits, and play. The Aji Network's top 1% focus isn't about greed, fame, or expensive toys, but survival. Our focus on enabling business people to produce top 1% incomes with our strategic knowledge is practical and strategic, rather than political, greedy, or immature. It's about having enough money to survive, be free, and live a good life during adulthood and 25 plus years of unemployment during your old age. The simple addition of the cost of goods and services required to take care of fundamental and essential human concerns leads people to this conclusion. Even if it's not politically correct to say so, the numbers add up as they do, and the math plays no politics. This talk is one of more than 30 top 1% recorded talks available in the Aji Network's 4 online mission-focused offers. The 4 mission-focused courses are for executives and business owners, managers, salespeople, individual contributors. Each course consists of 6 or 12 4-week sessions, contains at least 1 recorded talk and 2 to 4 essays from our top 1% strategic offers. The purpose of each online course, which can be viewed anywhere in the world with internet connections, is to enable participants to think and act effectively, strategically, and competitively enough to fulfill new and challenging business missions as well as personal financial ambitions in the most rapidly changing, technologically advanced, and competitive global marketplace in human history. The talk you're about to see is an excerpt from an introduction to designing new offers and practices. In it, Toby Hecht, founder and CEO of the Aji Network, helps ambitious business people learn a fundamental strategic skill essential to producing top 1% incomes in the most rapidly changing, competitive, complex, and technologically advanced global marketplace in human history. The focus of the talk is helping ambitious business people learn how to produce a steady stream of fresh, new offers, practices, narratives, and strategies with highly valued marginal utilities to make them scarce relative to demand for their careers and businesses, that are effective, strategic, and competitive enough to generate top 1% incomes between $400,000 and $4 million. The skill is essential in order to cope effectively, strategically, and competitively with rapid change in which new offers, practices, narratives, and strategies are introduced every 2 to 3 days. Business people who rely on their common sense, common business knowledge, and common networks because they are unable to design their own fresh new offers, practices, narratives, and strategies find themselves stuck in their careers, without opportunities to increase their incomes, priced rather than valued, and with incomes that are too low given their expected lifespans. To produce top 1% incomes in the most rapidly changing, complex, technologically advanced, and competitive global marketplace in human history, ambitious business people, along with their networks of employees, colleagues, and employers, must be able to produce their own steady stream of fresh new offers, practices, narratives, and strategies with highly valued marginal utilities to make them scarce relative to demand. Only fresh new offers, practices, narratives, and strategies that are scarce relative to demand can compel customers, employers, employees, and colleagues to assess their value rather than price them and increase their willingness to pay a premium for them. This is because human beings naturally price common offers, practices, narratives, and strategies to conserve their time, energy, money, and opportunities. And whenever an offer is priced, it means profit margins will be so low that all intentions to produce higher profits and top 1% incomes will be thwarted. Enjoy the talk.
What I'm going to do now is present the introductory talk for the design of offers and practices. Right? Now, for business professionals, in simple terms, generating top 1% income, that is what you do that other people don't do. What business professionals do is produce offers and practices, and what people do, or when people do not do that, they can't compete at the top 1% of the marketplace. And what I'm going to do is talk with you just about the introductory distinctions for that. Now, the only concern I have as I do this is that I'm going to make a lot of very important points at the beginning very quick. And I was concerned I will get tied up in my notes. So if I do, I apologize in advance, because I'm going to go through them pretty quick. And as I get into the latter part of the talk and I work with you with distinctions about it, we'll go into the usual, I'll have conversation with you about it. So this is a talk about producing offers and practices that are superior. Not just doing them, but producing them so that they are superior to others. They're competitive, high levels of value. I'm going to cover some of the following subjects. First is, what are offers and practices? I'll discuss their description, meanings, relevance, value, and purposes. I'll talk about what is the opportunity for business professionals. It's changing. That you have to produce new, fresh, and increasingly valuable offers in the marketplace. That's changing. I'll speak about the strategic orientation, strategy, and strategic coherence for working with offers and practices. Produce competitive advantage, marginal utility, marginal value, and to generate top 1% annual incomes, which are over $350,000 a year. I'll speak about the fundamental linguistic commitments in every offer and practice. In every offer or practice, whether it's superior or not, there are the same linguistic commitments. Using business narratives and other methods of designing the production of offers and practices. I'll discuss what is knowledge and what is power. Those aren't just words. They mean something. And why and how business professionals use them strategically, because that's what you do, to fulfill your lifestyle, financial, and business ambitions. I'll speak about moods, distinctions, and practices for noticing, observing, assessing, designing action, preparing to act, and acting with offers and practices. I'll speak fundamental philosophical doctrines that we use when producing new offers and practices. There are doctrines. That will be in this talk. Different types of innovation for designing new offers and practices. Standards for action to produce competitive advantage, value, and top 1% annual incomes. The forces that cause marketplace drift. And what marketplace drift does is always undermine the value of your offers and practices, because competitors and other forces that I'll speak of will do that. So you must continuously invent offers and practices that are of marginal utility and marginal values. Now, the first thing to understand about offers and practices is they are the true currency in the marketplace. People think that it's cash, like dollar bills, and that's what they're after. It's not. The currency, what people transact for in the marketplace, is offers and practices. That's what they buy. They give cash in exchange for that, or services, or whatever trade or barter it is. But what people are after is offers and practices. And people confuse those with products and services, but those are offers and practices. Like an iPod is an offer and a practice. It's not a product or a service. You begin to see things differently as I work with you. Now, the result, the outcome, the objective, what is produced by offers and practices are annual incomes, enterprise values for businesses, products and services, identities, leadership roles, business organizations. Those are all the outcomes of the production of offers and practices. Ambitious business people become business professionals when you all learn how to think and act with the distinctions and practices to produce new, fresh, and increasingly valuable offers and practices. That's how you produce top 1% income, and it's how you stay there. Okay. Now, we make distinctions of 3 different orientations towards transaction and performance with offers and practices. One is knowledge workers, right? Another is business laborers, and another is business professionals. In here, I speak to you as business professionals. Business laborers are by far the overwhelming number of workers in the marketplace, and they do not produce their own offers and practices. They swap them back and forth with common knowledge, common value. We all know it when we see them. They sell shoes, machinery, cars, whatever they do, insurance, money, whatever they do, when we already know what it is, and they're selling it, they're offering that, we already know that, they can't get out of into the top 1%. They get stuck in the bottom 99%. And they don't think of the world in terms of offers and practices. They think it in terms of products and services. And when people think in terms of products and services, right, they work hard with labor-based work ethics, hard work, determination, busyness, right? Thinking outside the box, task orientation. We got it? Okay. Now, knowledge workers are highly educated. PhDs, they do, anywhere from your psychologist and your dentist to financial experts. And when they have that knowledge, they sell it, but they don't produce their own offers with it. So we hire an accountant who's a knowledge worker. Great. But they don't get in the top 1% because their knowledge is also common. They're highly paid, but not in the top 1%. Now, business professionals go outside of that. And when you go outside of what people normally understand, when you come up with new offers and practices means that people don't know what they mean. Do you follow that one? All right, that's where we're going. To business professionals, the production of new, fresh, and increasingly valuable offers and practices is the essential skill. Everything else comes from that. It is the essential skill to learn and practice throughout your career. And it's a discipline. It's nothing you learn one day and then you got it. It's like practicing the piano. The value and power of every other thought or action a business professional performs in the marketplace is limited first by the value and power of the offers and practices they can produce. That is your first limitation that you're going to have to deal with is the power and value of the offers and practices you can invent. If they're not too powerful, they're not too valuable, you're just working against that. The thing is, pay attention to the production of your offers and practices. By definition, people don't think this way. Learning to produce new offers and practices that outperform 99% of the marketplace requires uncommon knowledge. You just can't use common sense and common knowledge. You just can't. Right? The moment you do, you're out. Right? Now, we live in a marketplace where people put high value on their common sense, and for common things, driving down the road, it's fine. But for uncommon outcomes, you can't use common knowledge and common sense. And the thing to sort out for yourselves as you move through the world is this common or not? And if it's common, know that it isn't going to work to get you where you want to go. Right? If it's uncommon, then you can say, well, how valuable is it? The production of new offers and practices isn't a trick. It's not a gimmick. It's not a recipe, and there's no procedure. So you're not going to get a checklist. You have to think in terms of fundamentals that I'll get to. It's a hard-won and costly skill that you learn that's equally difficult to maintain. Just like practicing the piano. You can learn it and practice it, and you stop for 6 months, and it goes away. And then you can get the discipline back and get the practice and back in again, but it isn't something hard that you carry around like in your pocket. It's a skill you practice. Learning and maintaining the skill is the primary concern of business professionals, and it's others as well. Every competitive professional, whether it's a learned professional, doctors, lawyers, engineers, an artistic professional, an athletic professional, always the learning and maintenance of their skills is their concernful activity every day. When first learning about offers and practices, it is important to keep in mind that ultimately the production of offers and practices is a tactical skill that must be used strategically. That means you have to understand tactics and strategies to use them. Right? To be effective, fulfilling personal ambitions, business missions, and generating top 1% annual incomes. Business professionals produce new, fresh, and increasingly valuable offers and practices strategically. Right? What strategy is? It's a plan of action. So if you've got no plan of action, doesn't matter. What I'm going to teach you here, you have to use strategically, and I'll talk about that. It has to be used strategically for customers, employers, employees, colleagues, and networks of transaction, tactical help, professional help, and discursive support. Meaning, you just don't have one offer and practice. You got to have a lot of them. And you use them in different places strategically to accumulate knowledge, power, competitive advantage, and value. It isn't simple. It's not a one-shot thing. To maintain competitive advantage and value and very high annual incomes, new offers and practices must be produced continuously. You don't get one. There's not this one good idea. It's a never-ending production of offers and practices. Competitive pressures and marketplace drift caused by changes in technology, economics, politics, and demographics ensure the continuous loss of the marginal utility and value of your offers and practices. That is, if you come up with a good idea, you can bet your competition's after it. All right? The smarter and better they are, the better they're going to be. Now, that goes for you too. When you get trumped, you figure out what they got, and I'll get to that in a bit. Business professionals use the offers and practices they produce to accumulate knowledge and power. I'll speak about those, what those mean in a moment. Business professionals use knowledge to increase their capacity to take care of human and business concerns more effectively. Businesses have concerns: marketing, sales, distribution, finance. People have concerns: their bodies, their families, play, sociability, their community. People use those. Knowledge is taking care of those. Business professionals use power, which is the capacity to think and act with superior effectiveness. In a competitive situation, it's superior. It has to be superior to produce competitive advantage and value. Business professionals need to be expert at disciplined learning. It's methodical, it's organized, it's studied, just like any other learned profession. Doctors do practice medicine and then get out of practice. Lawyers practice law, they can get out of practice. Business professionals need to be experts at accumulating power or capacity. Its forms, its sources, where it comes from, its categories, axioms, and ways of accumulating it. The primary tool that has shifted power in the direction of ambitious business people so that the role or career of business professionals is possible is the ubiquitous existence of computers. They changed the whole thing. Individuals and small groups couldn't accumulate power before the existence of computers. They had to form big hierarchical organizations with one person at the top, and people acted as the machines. Right? With computers, individuals with knowledge or small groups with knowledge can produce that value. Computers have expanded the capacity of individuals and small groups to produce and communicate. Those are the two things business people do: produce and communicate. And with your computer, you can produce. You can produce marketing, sales, tools, artifacts, offers, organizations, leadership, coordination. You can do all that if you have the knowledge. It's like having a hammer and not being an architect. Right? Once hammers came out, you want to build a building, you can use a hammer, right, to build a house, but you have to have the knowledge aside from the hammer to know how to use the hammer to build a house. But first, you have to have the tool, because if you don't have the hammers and nails, learning this stuff doesn't matter. So there's a jolt, I call it, going through the marketplace, because people are using the computers and the whole economy does better, but not the individuals using them because they don't have the knowledge to use them for themselves. Computers have dropped the costs of distributing the knowledge to produce new, fresh, and highly valued offers and practices to ambitious business people to zero. The cost of distributing the knowledge to people like you is zero. Now, you may have to pay for the service, but to get it to you, to distribute it from there to you, nothing. Just goes. That means people are going to do it, what that means. Now, ambitious business people use offers and practices to accumulate knowledge and power. Knowledge. Knowledge is the capacity to act, to take care of a concern satisfactorily, or to produce a situation. So we say somebody knows something when they can act. Well, don't confuse. Business professionals or people in business, don't confuse understanding. Like in school, it doesn't matter. There's no test. Understanding doesn't matter. Familiarity doesn't matter. All that matters is the capacity to act, to take care of a concern. So if you can sell, and you can sell $1 million of product, you have the knowledge to sell $1 million worth of product. Does everybody follow? If you understood how to do it, it doesn't matter. In business, it matters, can you do it? It's like, you know, when you go to the dentist and they take out the drill, and you go, whoa, now we're going to find out whether the dentist knows what he or she is doing. Right? And they take out the syringe, and there's that moment. That's where we know knowledge. There's no kidding in those moments. And for business people, when we look at balance sheets, income statements, and cash flows, that's where the knowledge shows up. Right? Opinions don't matter. Bullshit doesn't matter. Now, power. Right? In a non-competitive situation, like mowing your lawn, right, straightening your desk, knowledge and power are the same. They're the capacity to act to take care of a concern. But in a competitive situation, it's superior capacity. If you're in a foot race, you have power to run when you're in front. Leaders have more power because they have superior capacity to think and act effectively, as intended. Well, what are offers and practices? First is, both are forms of action. Offers and practices are forms of action. People throw these words around, and when I hear them say it, they don't know what they mean, so I'm saying what they mean. Action is any time somebody is taking care of a concern or producing a situation. They are acting. right? So it requires a narrative and some kind of commitment to act. And you don't confuse effective action with ineffective action. Action is action. And then you can judge whether the action is effective or ineffective. But action is whatever somebody is taking care of or producing. So if you want to know what somebody is doing, you ask them. You can't tell by looking at them. What are you doing, you say? And whatever their answer is what they're doing. You know, why am I sitting here? I'm resting. Aha, that's the action you're in. What are you doing? They're sitting there and they say, I'm meditating. That's what they're doing. If you say, what are you doing? And they're sitting there and they say, I'm waiting. Then that's what they're doing. Action is always defined by the narrative of the person who is acting, not by what you see. Okay? Now, a practice is a known method that's named of action. When somebody has a method they know, and they know what it is they're doing, I'm playing the piano, that's a practice. If they're sitting down, they go, I'm sitting down, there's a name, I'm called sitting down. A named action is a practice. All right? What you do to design offers and practices is you learn a new practice. You learn the practice of producing offers and practices. Everybody follow that? Now, in life, we exist in a world of mechanisms. Right? And in these mechanisms, we learn how to operate them with practices, like throwing a ball is a practice. But when we throw a ball, we're interacting with gravity and friction and Newton's laws of physics. We're required by the world we live in to have a practice to deal with those forces. Right? And to generate top 1% annual income, we deal with marketplace forces, with practices that have names. And the more you learn, the more powerful they are, the more you can compete. Now, an offer is a practice. That is, all offers are practices, but not all practices are offers. An offer is a category of practice. There are other practices in business, but business professionals begin with the production of new, fresh, increasingly valuable offers and other practices. Now, an offer is a two-part commitment. It's a practice with two parts. The first part of an offer is an announcement of a promise and 3 reports. So when we make an offer, part 1 is an announcement of the promise that we're willing to make. I offer to fix your piano, we say to somebody. And when we say that to somebody, we announce part of the offer is what promise we're willing to make. Well, okay. Now, along with that, we have to build trust. That is, when we make an offer and we announce our practice, the promise we're willing to make, right? At that moment, people go, well, how do I trust you? And one of the things they look for is your psychology. Do you want to do it? If you don't want to do it, people go, well, you know, we all do things we don't want to do, but we don't want to do them. When people say, I'm really excited to do this, it's like they're trying to let you know you can trust them. I want to do this. Want, wish, desire, prefer. When you use words like that, people go, oh, that builds a little trust because you want to do it. You desire to do it. You prefer to do it. You wish to do it. That's an announcement of your psychology. Right? Next is an announcement about your mood. You can not want to do something and be willing to do it. And people are looking for moods of enthusiasm for what you do, passion for the future. Right? They're looking for not mood, you know, when you go to the movie theater and there's that person who takes your movie ticket and tears it in half? You're like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like as low a level of willingness as you can get, but of course that's the job they've got. Business professionals manage their mood, so they are enthusiastic about what they do, and I don't mean to confuse that with excited. We're not teenagers jumping around in excitement. Enthusiasm is a deep joy in what you do, a deep willingness to do it. And when you lose your enthusiasm, you're out of the game. That's true for the learned professions. You know, some doctor's not enthusiastic about medicine, an engineer, an artist, an athlete. You lose your enthusiasm, you get flat. Manage your moods. And passion for the future, what business professionals do is help people with offers for their and your future. So if you're not passionate about the future, you're going to turn out enthusiastic about the work you're doing now. Okay. Next is a report. So you got a psychological report, a mood report, and then a report about your capacity to perform. Are you an expert? Are you incompetent? Are you mediocre? Are you a master? right? Are you barely able to get the job done? People are going, well, I need to trust you if you're an expert, and that's where business professionals locate. You need to be experts, and experts perform better than competent. It's superior. That's what expertise means. So whatever the common standard is, that's called competence. That's also, from a business professional's point of view, the definition of mediocrity. Right? Whatever is common defines mediocrity. And expertise is out of that. So for part one of an offer is an announcement to somebody, I am psychologically wanting to do this. Mood-wise, I'm enthusiastic to do this. Capacity-wise, I'm an expert with making this promise. That's the first part of this thing. Second part of an offer is the condition with which you will keep that promise, which is your request for compensation, cooperation, and coordination in return. An offer is a conditional promise, which means I will promise to do this on the condition that you compensate me as I request, that you cooperate with me, and when people cooperate with you, that means they do things they don't care about that are necessary to fulfill the offer. Every customer must cooperate with the person, if nothing else but to take it. They must cooperate. And most often, they have to coordinate action with you too. That is, they've got to share in a dance with you to keep that. And it's got to be clear to people, I request this compensation-like payment, I request this cooperation, and I request this coordinated action with me. And in the condition you agree to that request, to fulfill that request and promise that, I promise to fulfill my promise. Got it? Two parts. Offers are practices that produce transactions. That's what they do. A transaction is an exchange. And in a free marketplace, what defines the exchange is mutual willingness to be satisfied with the transaction. But it doesn't mean you're transacting for the same things. Right? So money like currency and a fan, fine. As long as both parties are satisfied and agree, there's an exchange. I'm going to speak more about this later. Transactions are life. They're life and death. I mean, it gets down that level. It's not an exaggeration. I'm not going over the top. People who have nothing to offer anybody else die. There's people around the world, they are, whatever condition they're in, they could be out alone in the desert or they could be ill, and if nobody does charitable work to take care of them and they can't transact for help they need, they die. Now, people who don't study that, they just kind of intuitively go, listen, I need this help, and people go, well, I need help too, so I'll help you if you'll help me, and they go back and forth until they get that. But we have to be experts in understanding that transaction is life and death to a business, it's life and death to a person and to a family. Right? So when I say here's what offers are about, they are the life and death of human beings throughout history. Business people use offers to accumulate knowledge and many other forms of power. Financial power, identity, production power, communication power. There's many different capacities people transact for. That's what makes them relevant. The value of offers is they help people avoid threats. They enable people to keep their obligations. If they don't keep them, turn back into threats. Like you don't satisfy your customers, that turns into a threat, or it turns into existential despair. Like if you can't take care of your children, what's the point of my life? It's deep in our biology. People act to transact so they can avoid threats, fulfill their obligations, and to exploit the opportunities they need to live a good life. A business professional's offers have to be important consequentially. Right? If you're taking care of a threat, an obligation, an opportunity, the consequence has got to be important. Right? If they can do without them, who cares? They've got to be useful, utilitarian, practical, everyday stuff. People go, what does it do? It better do something. And it better do something consequential. And it has to be worthwhile. It has to be worth the time, the energy, the lost opportunities, and the money people pay to accept the offer. And what enhances the value is if it's scarce, uncommon, right? Uncommonly remarkable in its help. If it's difficult for somebody else to acquire, it enhances the value. If it's common, every day everybody can get it. You know, a bottle of water, when there's hundreds and thousands of stores around, you can buy them or they're worth $1. If you're in the desert and thirsty, you give them everything you got. Now, the top 1% values produce marginal utility and marginal value. This wasn't possible before computers. People aren't used to thinking this way. I'm going to go into it in depth in a moment, but it isn't part of our common sense to understand marginal utility and marginal value, so hold that. Where business professionals go is to the marginal utility and marginal value with offers. It's just not what people think. Economists think that way. CEOs of big businesses think that way. But individuals walking around didn't have the tools. It's not part of our everyday thinking. And it's conceptually a little difficult at first. The purpose of offers. The fundamental purpose always is to live a good life. I mean, that is the fundamental purpose of transaction, is to live a good life. And you know, the media talks about, well, this is about a business person getting rich and doing all that. And it's like, if you just live for your business, I don't think those people do that. They live a good life, is the point, right? So the fundamental purpose is to live a good life. The specific purpose of offers is to enable specific people to make specific transactions at specific times and locations, in specific situations, with specific capacities and practices, with already existing specific commitments. It gets very specific with offers. Well, life is specific. You're always facing that person, that customer, that employer, that employee with a specific name, with a specific situation. So the specific purpose of designing new, fresh, increasingly valuable offers is to deal in specific situations, but for a fundamental purpose. The ultimate purpose is to fulfill ultimate lifestyle, financial, and business ambitions. That's the ultimate purpose. That needs to be kept in mind so that when you design or produce new offers and practices, they fulfill the ultimate purpose, which is you live a good life and you have your financial goals and incomes and all that done. Strategically, the strategic purpose is to produce interim situations that will get you to the ultimate outcome. Their tactical purpose is to be used in the execution of strategies. So offers have a fundamental purpose, a specific purpose, an ultimate one, a strategic one, and a tactical one. And business professionals use all 5 of those all the time. If you don't, you go off track, right? Then you work really hard to produce an income you don't want. So, first, fundamental. Human beings must transact. You don't need to worry about it. Every human being in the world will transact with somebody to get the help that they need to survive. Otherwise, they will die. No human being is biologically, mechanically, structurally equipped, except on television, to take care of themselves by themselves. So people form communities, networks, businesses, organizations, and business professionals are key to that. Now, what that means is that everybody is open to transaction, just not yours. You don't have to worry when you approach somebody that they're open to transaction. They are, or they will be suffering until they are. That's the way it goes. The deal is to produce the offers, they accept yours. That's the competition. Okay? That's underlying everything is people are open to transactions. They're open to offers. They just got to accept yours. When you're a business professional, part of the problem is that to be in the top 1%, to produce marginal utility and marginal value, you produce new offers people don't understand. So you've got to be able to speak the description of your offer, its meaning, relevance, value, and purposes. Business laborers and knowledge workers don't have to because it's already some part of the background of obviousness what they're selling, what they're offering, what they're doing. So business professionals work in a perpetual crisis of description, a crisis of meaning, a crisis of relevance, a crisis of value, and a crisis of purpose. People don't know what you're talking about. You've got to be experts at narratives, which I'll get to, and I'll do a whole talk on those.
Thank you for watching this excerpted talk. Need help in fulfilling your business mission and personal ambitions? Would you like to learn how we could be of value to you? Please call or email us, 408-730-2234. request@theajinetwork.com. We can answer your questions or make recommendations to help you and your organization learn the strategic knowledge that is now required to compete successfully in today's rapidly changing, technologically advanced, and competitive global marketplace. We can also help you invite people in your network, colleagues, employers, employees, or customers, to participate with you in the Aji Network's mission-focused offers so their value to your network increases. The Aji Network helps ambitious business people gain the top 1% strategic knowledge they need to earn a living in the most competitive, rapidly changing, complex, and technologically advanced global marketplace in human history. To earn a living today requires people to make enough money to live a good life during adulthood while raising a family, and save enough money to continue living a good life during their old age. This requires most business people to learn how to produce annual incomes between $400,000 and $4 million. The exact amount depends on one's age and current savings. The Aji Network's 4 mission-focused offers help ambitious business people think and act effectively, strategically, and competitively enough to fulfill new and challenging business missions as well as their personal financial ambitions. The mission-focused offers are offered online, which means people can work with the material by themselves and with others anywhere in the world. The Aji Network also offers 4 strategic offers. Our strategic offers help ambitious business people fulfill their career, financial, and business ambitions, which usually requires they earn incomes between $400,000 and $4 million, depending upon their age and current savings. Please give us a call.